buried her in the cellar. God help me, I buried her in the earthen floor of the fruit cellar.
Evil Dead 2 is a supernatural splatter flick directed by Sam Raimi. It's a sequel to 1981's The Evil Dead. Bruce Campbell returns as Ash Williams to kill even more deadites in this iconic horror comedy masterpiece. The film starts with Ash Williams taking his girlfriend Linda to an abandoned cabin in the woods. This is a bit confusing. Linda died in the previous film. Now, apparently this is a way to recap the first film to the audience. Raimi didn't own the rights to use footage from the first film, so he reshot a condensed version for the first 10 minutes of Evil Dead 2. If you saw my review of the first film that I posted yesterday, you should be mostly caught up to speed. Regardless, Linda becomes a deadite. Ash kills her with a chainsaw. In many ways, Evil Dead 2 is a much more refined and focused version of the first film. It's much more comedic in tone, however, it's still just as frightening. Bruce Campbell does a masterful job of using exaggerated facial expressions in a way that sells both the horror and the comedy of what's happening in a given scene. His physical comedy just sells the absurdity of the situation while also making the audience afraid of what's happening. At times, he even looks like a cartoon character with the way he just smashes into things. It's really entertaining. The way he acts opposite his own hand just shows how talented of an actor he is. It makes me wonder why he never really blew up as an actor. I mean, what other actor could share a scene with nothing but his own hand to act against and make it extremely entertaining? Apparently, the whole scene was also improvised by Bruce Campbell. This is the film that solidifies Ash Williams as a cultural icon. This is the film where he really steps up and becomes the smooth-talking, deadite killer with a chainsaw for a hand.
Hey, I'll swallow your soul! I'll swallow your soul! I'll swallow your soul!
Swallow this.
The design of the cabin this time around is a lot more unique. Despite not being the same cabin from the first film, it still carries the haunting presence that the original cabin maintained. Most notably, the windows and porch of the cabin make the exterior look like a skull. Interestingly, the majority of Evil Dead 2 was shot in a gymnasium in a high school in North Carolina. The sound design of Evil Dead 2 is a major improvement over the first film, with certain sounds being a lot more disorienting and visceral. A notable example of this is the scene of Ash being chased by the evil force. The shots of Ash running are intercut with the spirit's perspective. The point of view shots have this harsh noise over it, with the constant cutting back and forth being really jarring in the best way possible. The special effects work here is fantastic. I'm a huge fan of stop motion animation, so for me, this was a very enjoyable experience. My only gripe with the film is the cinematography. I found myself enjoying the gritty and grainy aesthetic of the first film a lot more. I'm aware that look wasn't really a creative decision and more or less something they just needed to do out of necessity. Regardless, Evil Dead 2 just looks a bit too clean for my taste. The shadows aren't as pronounced as the first film, and it just doesn't look as unique. That being said, this is such a minor and inconsequential complaint that it should be taken with a grain of salt. Overall, great film, one of the best splatter flicks out there. Check it out.